Hello you fantastic people, and welcome back to Borderlands 3, another exciting video to bring to you guys today. It is the Rampager 50 kills on True Vault Hunter mode, Mayhem 4. We're trying to find the dedicated drops in all the named bosses that are Mayhem 4 specific. A lot of people don't know, but there is new weapons that are brought out as of the Mayhem 4 update about a week and a half ago. They are just dedicated to Mayhem 4. You can't get on Mayhem 1, 2, 3, or no Mayhem modifiers. The dedicated drops that are just regardless of that, like the Lucian's Call, you can find a normal, etc. We are not looking for those. We are essentially just testing 50 kills Mayhem 4 True Vault Hunter mode to find the new weapons, as well as to compare every named boss in this game to see how many legendary items it drops, because world drops is still a thing, to essentially see who just drops the most, as well as anointed weapons, because that's a huge thing that I'm particularly searching for currently, as well as class mods, because they're generally pretty hard to find in this game, artifacts, because they're obviously highly sought after. So essentially at the end, we can just compare all the bosses and find out who is the best boss to farm for, bulk legendaries, bulk anointeds, class mods, who's all around us like an easy farm, because, you know, some are more efficient than others because immunity stages, travel time, etc. We're going to be comparing all of them. Now, as for a loadout for killing the Rampager as quick as possible, it did take me a while, probably like 5 or so different loadouts to try and work out which was the fastest, because I'm always trying to work that out for my 50 runs, because I just don't have 3 days to make each of these videos. I do them all in one day and post them in the same day. So eventually I worked out the best way to do it. I went through my King's Calls. Those are really good options. If you guys don't have all these weapons, I'll just list a few so you guys know viable options. I use my King's Calls. They work amazing, but he has 3 different stages. He's immune to radiation in the first stage, he's immune to corrosive in the second stage, and he's immune to fire in the third stage. So I used my fire King's Call for the first 2, and then my corrosive King's Call or Queen's Call, whatever it's called, in the third stage. Both worked great, but it just wasn't doing it quick enough, particularly when I didn't have my fadeaway. They're pretty useless guns, so I had to have a backup, which was my Lucian's Call of whichever elemental type, depending on what stage we're at. That just wasn't doing it fast enough, so I tried my lineage pistols. They work pretty well as well, but again, not quick enough. Eventually I went to my trusty bang sticks, which you guys have told me 1,000 times in the comments, so thank you very much for telling me about how amazing this shotgun is. If you guys haven't seen this before, because I personally had not heard about it until everyone just lit me up in the comments that I needed to get a bang stick. You can get these guns. They are purple or blue rarity. They're not legendaries, but they are better than any shotgun I have in the game. Particularly when you switch with the Unforgiven pistol. I'll show you guys in a sec how amazing it works in game, but these two are my main 2 weapons for killing Rampager, and is super effective. Essentially this bang stick for the first 2 immunity stages, and then this bang stick which is slightly weaker but essentially just doesn't have 5 bullets, so it actually works in the third stage. And then switching to my Unforgiven is amazing. For my shield, I essentially just went with high capacity again. I think I've done that for my last 5 videos. I honestly just haven't found a shield that is like necessary for a particular fight. I just keep opting for high capacity. Let me know if you guys recommend any better shields though. And my class mod is essentially just because of the increased shotgun damage and the increased 4 skill points in the 2-fang perk. I won't go through my entire skill tree because that takes way too long, but this is the 2-fang perk I was talking about. It is fantastic. If you guys are playing as Flak, definitely go into this because it is amazing. It is essentially an extra projectile per shot, with a 45% chance now that I have 9 points in it. Essentially, you're just shooting a whole bunch of bullets and getting free ammo. But as for the rest, if you guys just want to pause it and just check out the skill trees for yourselves, if you're interested. Now, just on screen, I'll have a few runs showing so you guys can see my strat for killing Rampager. I eventually got it down to the quickest time I could possibly get, which is pretty damn quick. The only time I was waiting around was really for his immunity stages. Just essentially just light him up with the bang stick in fadeaway, and as soon as it is finished, I switch to the Unforgiven and just let the sticky bullets explode and absolutely shreds him to his first immunity stage. And then just wait around, do the exact same thing for the second one. And then for the third one, he has to jump around a whole bunch, probably for about 30 seconds. You just avoid his attacks. And then once he finally comes down, you'll see on screen when I particularly wait, because I know he's there long enough for me to get a full magazine of fadeaway into him before he jumps away again. And then I switch to the Unforgiven, and it essentially just takes him out in 3 fadeaways, essentially for each immunity stage. There is 1 fadeaway, and absolutely shreds him. But as for the stats, Rampager is now the #1 legendary items boss in Borderlands 3. The ones I've tested so far, he dropped 153 legendary items in the 50 runs on True Vault Hunter mode, Mayhem 4, which is absolutely fantastic. Grave Ward, the original MVP, dropped 147, and Tyrene number 3 now at 146. So the top 3 are all pretty close together, but they seem to be the ones that are the bigger bosses in the game. Like Tyrene and Troy are definitely up there because they're the 2 hardest bosses, at least in my opinion. Rampager is a super difficult boss. I absolutely shred him on screen, but it did take me a long time to work out how to do that. With normal weapons and not using the Unforgiven trick, it would probably take a long time. Like I use my Cutsman, although an amazing weapon, it does take a long time to get through him with that. My Lucians and my Rowan's Coals took ages to get through. So if you have just basic level legendaries, he is a difficult fight and his attacks are really strong. So essentially if we can handle the tougher boss fights to farm, they're definitely worth because they drop more world drop legendaries compared to the easier boss fights. As for the anointeds, Rampager dropped 19 anointed legendary weapons out of his 50 runs, which is pretty good. I think he comes in at number 4 currently. Troy is number 1 still at 25 anointed legendaries out of 50 runs. So if you guys can handle Troy and are looking for anointed weapons, definitely go for him. Gigamind was 2nd and he dropped 22 legendaries that are anointed after 50 runs. And Tyrene is currently the 3rd best with 20 anointed legendaries out of her 50 runs. Not only does Rampager drop the most legendary weapons out of his 50 runs on Mayhem 4 True Vault Hunter mode, he actually drops the most artifacts as well out of the ones we've tested so far. He drops 22 artifacts. Tyrene is now in spot number 2 with 19 artifacts and Grave Ward with 17. And if you thought it couldn't actually get any better, Rampager actually drops the most class mods out of anyone I've tested so far with 17, just knocking off Grave Ward from the top spot at 16, and Troy and Tyrene at 12, tied for 3rd place. So Rampager is actually an amazing farm for world drop legendaries, artifacts, and class mods, coming in at number 1 spot for all of them so far out of the ones I've tested. As for unsuccessful runs, he did have 5 runs, which I did kill him and he didn't drop a single legendary weapon. Compared to the number 1 spot for that is Grave Ward with only 2 unsuccessful runs, but considering he still dropped more legendaries overall, that is an amazing stat. Now as for dedicated drops, there actually is a Mayhem 4 dedicated drop for the Rampager, but I didn't get it to drop in 50 tries. I did have about 10 to 15-ish guns glitch into the wall from where I killed him. If he's on one of the top 4 platforms which he jumps to, when he dies, half the guns glitch into the wall and just make it impossible for you to get them. So potentially it was one of those, but I never got it to drop, which sucks. And I did upload this video already. If you guys were part of the 200 people that saw it the first half an hour, I did notice one of the comments says, didn't the Juju drop from the Rampager? And yes, thank you very much. Cameron particularly pointed that out. He does. So I'm just going to edit this in here. I'm going to leave the video the same anyway because I want it to be a 50 runs test so you guys can still compare the drops and the anointeds, etc. And I'm going to make a separate video for the Juju assault rifle that drops from the Rampager so you guys can check it out. I'll show a bit in action, etc. I'll leave that for another video. But for now, the rest of this video will stay as normal and I'll show you guys the Juju the second I get my hands on it and it doesn't glitch into a wall. He did already have the dedicated drop from the start of the game, being the Quatermizer rocket launcher, which is a pretty good rocket launcher in this game. I think I've got it every time I've done a playthrough mission of the Rampager. He didn't drop it too many times while doing my 50 tests. I think I only got 2 or 3 times. But it is a really good rocket launcher if you guys are going for that. He's the only one that drops it. And like I usually do, I'll leave a comment pinned to the top of the comment section down below, which will have the full list of legendaries that we got from Rampager after 50 kills on Mayhem 4 True Vault Hunter mode. You guys are welcome to check that out if you want. And as well, if you guys are missing any legendaries in Borderlands 3 and you just can't get them because RNG sucks and it's just trolling you, trust me, I know the feels. It took me like 2 months to get an Unforgiven pistol to be able to do this. If you guys want to leave a comment down below or just reply to that comment that I pinned to the top of the comment section and just say, hey, I'm looking for this weapon. I can't get it because RNG sucks. If I have a spare, I am more than happy to send it to you because I have a bunch of spares from just getting like 153 legendaries today, for instance. I have a bunch of spares. I don't have spares of everything. For instance, I don't have spare Lucian's Coals, which I think is the #1 requested gun I send to people. If you guys want though, I did make a dedicated drop video for Lucian's Coals, just in case you guys missed it. But any other weapons, I pretty much have spares of. Just reply and I'll get back to you guys within like the next 2 days. It does take me a while to get around to the comments, but I will eventually reply and I'm happy to send spares because I just don't need 4,000 legendaries. But yeah, that is 50 kills of Rampager on Mayhem 4 True Vault Hunter mode. If you guys enjoyed this video, I found it helpful at all, I'd really appreciate if you guys could smash subscribe down below. We just smashed through 3,000 subs, I think yesterday or something like that. It feels like it was yesterday they were on 500 subs, so I have absolutely no idea how we got here, but thank you very much for that. You guys are absolute legends. If you guys want to like the video and share the video so we can grow even more beyond belief, that would be fantastic. Oh, and if you guys want to leave a comment down below, if you guys have any info on dedicated drops in Borderlands 3, Mayhem 4 or non-Mayhem 4 specific, that would be fantastic. If you guys have any things that you think drops from a particular boss or no drops from a particular boss and want to drop it down below, I'll test them all out for you guys if you don't have the time, etc. I'll check it out, and if I find the dedicated drop, I'll let you guys know for each particular weapon. I will eventually get around to covering all the dedicated drops on this channel because I'm super keen about Borderlands 3 legendaries, if you guys haven't been able to tell already by all these videos. But if you guys don't know how to test for dedicated drops, the best place to do it, if you're not going for Mayhem 4 specific, the normal ones, you just want to go into normal Vault Hunter mode, no Mayhem modifiers. By doing that, you're essentially reducing the world drop legendary drop rate to like practically nothing. That way, whenever you farm a particular named boss, you'll find out if the same weapon drops like 3 or 4 times, maybe like 30 runs or something like that. If you notice a stark difference between the usual drop rates, you pretty much found the dedicated drop for that boss. For example, like the Lucian's Call and the Rowan's Call dropped from the Blue Fire and Red Rain bosses at the end of the Super Slaughter 3000, and you can tell that's the dedicated drop by turning off your Mayhem modifiers and farming those guys. They're pretty much the only weapons they drop regularly, and by pretty much I mean they are the only drops they drop regularly. And as for the Mayhem 4 specific ones, just like I'm doing, you essentially just turn on Mayhem 4. You don't have to be in true Vault Hunter mode. I'm essentially just in it just to make things more difficult for myself. You can just test Mayhem 4 any bosses, don't have to be in a particular mode, and just farm and see essentially if you find any of the new weapons that haven't been dropped before. That are the dedicated drops for Mayhem 4, because the new weapons are only dropping from 1 boss each. And yeah, other than that, I shall see you guys in the next video. Until then, have a fantastic day and adios.